Hello everyone, welcome to Lectora Live, your inside track into Lectora. Today we've got with us someone special, but first, here we go. Hi everyone, I'm Rick Zanatti, and today another interview show. We've done quite a few in the last 2 months, and today we've got with us Jared Schaalje. He is a Lectora person. He's been using Lectora for quite a while. A good background in e-learning and healthcare. And here is Jared. Hey, Jared, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad you could make it. I know we've had a couple of scheduling issues and conflicts, but we finally got you on, so I'm glad. And you had a broken fan along the way for a computer. I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
Not fun.
No.
So, Jared, you're up in the Vancouver, Washington area.
Yes. Yep, right by Portland, Oregon.
Pretty part of the world.
Yes. Yeah. Very nice area.
So you work primarily with e-learning right now, right?
Correct. Right now, I'm working for Gentle Dental, which is they're called a DSO, but a dental service organization, and they own about 182 different dental clinics, primarily on the western part of the United States. Okay. And what I'm doing for them is implementing their LMS and also building e-learning courses. And so basically starting the whole e-learning program from scratch. So I was actually really excited when I got hired for this position because they said, do you want to start a whole program right from the beginning? I said, yes, absolutely. So so everything from the LMS to building the courses and working with the subject matter experts. And we're hoping to have soon a library of a couple hundred courses.
That sounds great. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
So Gentle Dental, I love the sound because, everybody loves dental work so much, but gentle is a good thing.
Yes.
Now, how did you get involved with e-learning?
So I started, I have a master's degree in Instructional Technology, and then I completed a second master's shortly after that in Instructional Design for online learning. And I started out working for a fairly large hospital in Wisconsin as an instructional designer, and it was there that I began using Lectora, and this was back in 2003.
Okay.
And Lectora was absolutely amazing because what it allowed me to do was build templates and build the learning theories and the instructional design theories all into that template, and then pour the content into the template. And when they hired me at the hospital, they wanted me to originally build between about 10 or 12 courses a year. And at the end of 2.5 years, I had built over 102 courses.
Wow.
And it was primarily because of Lectora. I mean, it allowed me to build templates that facilitated learning, to put the content, rapidly put the content into these templates, and basically to build super high quality courses in a really short amount of time. I patterned a lot of what I did after. I tried to pattern it similar to what Deming did with Toyota, so that high quality models of cars were being built in a really short amount of time.
Yeah.
But the short amount of time didn't sacrifice quality, if that makes sense.
No, that's true. So you kind of applied the Kaizen principles to e-learning design. Now, Lectora, it's funny. Now, you got into it before I did. I think we started about 2005. And if you look at what it was then, which was still pretty powerful, and what it is now, they've actually grown it quite a bit, and incrementally and in some respects revolutionarily in terms of all the changes they've made.
Yep.
When you first started, what made you, did you choose the Lectora, or did you have another tool originally that you work with?
So I did choose Lectora. So at the hospital at the time, so SCORM was becoming a big thing. I'm not a programmer. I'm a learning designer, and I love integrating theories of cognitive psychology and that into learning. But I'm not a programmer, and I didn't, necessarily want to spend hours and hours on coding and that. And I've seen a lot of courses that had great programming, and the instructional design was horrible because, probably because the people who were developing it were spending tons of time on coding, but not much time on the actual course design, the graphic design, and making it look good. So what Lectora allowed me to do, I searched through a number of tools, and what Lectora allowed me to do was basically, if I could dream it, Lectora could do it with pretty much minimal programming. And what programming there was in Lectora was super easy because of just moving actions around and simple if-then statements, but very, very easy. And And so Lectora allowed me to do that. Plus, it allowed me to publish this courses in SCORM format without ever having to write any of the complex JavaScript and things that are required for SCORM. It was great. So, and so I use Lectora for everything from very simple informational courses where learners had to just be exposed to certain types of healthcare information and then memorize it, all the way to complex simulations where learners had to make choices and experience consequences along the way. Lectora is awesome because I can do all of that. And also for case scenarios where learners would view a scenario and then predict the consequences and also decide what they would do after that scenario, what they could have done better, and also reflect on how they could have changed the actions that were done in the scenario. Lectora allowed me to build all those things and beautifully without any programming, and then to implement graphic design, other elements, Flash, whatever into it. So it was absolutely a lifesaver. Plus, it allowed me to build these templates with all the theory, the learning theories built into it, so I could just put the content into it. And I also actually used Lectora to storyboard too. So when I went with subject matter experts, I would pull up Lectora, and how I still do now, and storyboard right there in Lectora, so I'm not going from another tool. I have worked on other projects where designers would, they would storyboard in PowerPoint or something similar to that, and then just hand it over to developers. And I've seen so much inefficiency happen in that process where, back and forth between the storyboard and the real program, and that's not quite it, no, that's quite not quite it, no. But Lectora, storyboarding right in Lectora, they see everything that's there, it's developed fast, and again, that's why I said I wanted to use the kind of the Toyota method of building it right the first time, and Lectora absolutely allowed that. In my opinion, better than any other tool that I had used. So
yeah, I actually agree with you. I've worked with just about every tool, and some of them are okay, some of them are cute, some of them do a pretty good job. But anytime I've needed anything hard done, I usually go to Lectora because I know it's going to be easier, and most of the time it just works. We don't run into bugs a lot. I mean, there are some, but they're not showstoppers, and we don't spend a lot of time working around bugs and trying to figure out what somebody was trying to do. And I just find the tool works really well in just about all cases. Now you'd like to talk about the templates you build. So would you say most of your work is to a certain point templatized, and then you just modify your templates as needed?
Quite a bit of it is. I mean, and so, again, it depends, this is part of what I love about Lectora too, though, is that it's so adaptable. So I have templates that are powerful that work, but then very often, I'll be working with a subject matter expert and exactly what they need and everything. Maybe if it doesn't fit perfectly in the template, it's fine because I can, Lectora can totally adapt to it, and I can switch things around. So I guess to answer your question, a lot of what I do is templatize. I'm a big believer in that. If there's a template with learning theories and things already built into it, but if it requires an extra guided simulation or modified guided simulation or modified type of exam, Lectora can do that. I guess to give you an example of how I think of Lectora, it's kind of the difference between a 1950s piece of metal that you sort of need to shape to what you need, and then having metal that's like on Terminator 2, where you can, you can bend it and shape. It's that, that liquid metal that they have on Terminator 2, where you can bend it and shape it to however you need, and in a moment. That's how, Lectora to me is like that. It can be shaped in so many ways, so it can be like that, but. Do you know what kind of metal? It looks kind of like mercury on the animation of
right.
I'm talking about. So.
They had a word. It was like not chameleon, but it would transform itself like a not transformer. There was that reminds me of Star Trek. I think what was it called? The one where they were on the station.
Oh yes, yeah.
Deep Space Nine, and they had the creatures that would kind of come up and they would melt into a different shape, and it was pretty cool.
Yes. Yep.
Well, they had a word for it, but anyway.
I know what you're talking about in the science fiction terms. It just left my mind. I know.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's bugging at me right now. They weren't chameleons. It had a different word.
It was a nice word too that fit, and it would be. And I think it's a perfect word to describe Lectora, that type of concept. That it just you can shape it and adapt it malleably, but it's beautifully. It's not like shaping a chunk of iron from the 1950s where you got to pound, and it kind of shaped it.
It wasn't a shapeshifter. It was something different.
Yeah.
Shapeshifter was like later. That was the other show. That was, what was that show? That was another one that came on, like Fringe.
Yeah, yep.
And for all these science fiction lovers out there,
Right.
that was a good show. They ended it too soon.
My wife and I we watched every episode of Fringe, yeah, absolutely. So I know what you're talking about. Yeah, and really, Lectora is like a shapeshifter. I mean, it's that adaptable, but on the flip side, it's also easy. So a non-programmer, I mean, what it does is you can focus on the design the whole time and making that shape awesome as it shifts to meet the needs of the subject matter experts. You can shift it really easy without having to know JavaScript or any other programming language. It's great. So.
Yeah, and the way they designed the actions, when I first got into Lectora, and I have a programming background, but I never liked doing hardcore programming because there's always an easier way.
Yeah.
So I always work with what they call fourth generation languages, where you had a lot less code to write, and in the background it was writing tons of code.
Yes.
So it was not quite code generators, but they were just very fast programming languages. And when I first got into Lectora, I went, ooh, I like this. And when I got into actions, you could do so much without really having to know that much. You have if, then, else statements, clauses, conditionals. And like you said, you don't have to be a programmer, and they make it easy. And it's actually quite powerful. And then the concept of grouping items, and then you can call groups of items. I mean, we've done that. We had to do one complex. It was kind of a mapping operation. It was a safety operation for a very large company, and they had about 40 different branches, and we had to go to every we had maps of every branch. Where were the defibrillators? Where's the fire exits? Where's this? Where's that?
Yeah.
But depending on what branch, they had to actually jump to different areas, and the logic in Lectora made it so easy. And we had a lot of stuff up in the title area, so we could call groups that would automatically figure out where to go.
Yep.
That was, and people looked at them and went, "How'd you do that?" I go, Lectora.
Yep.
We tried it in Captivate first. We wrote it and then threw it out. It did not work. We couldn't get the variables to work well.
Yep.
And there were too many maps too. That we had 250 maps in this thing.
Yeah.
That in Flash, that's a lot of maps. That's a lot of loading and preloading. With Lectora, it was fast.
Yep.
And the thing is, the logic was so easy to create, and we had everything in chapters. So every branch was a chapter.
Yep.
You can jump to a chapter, jump back. You can jump to different areas. We had enough logic that you could say, well, in this particular chapter, I need you to jump a different place because of the way things work.
Yeah.
And it was really a piece of cake. I think I wrote that in less than 2 days. Yeah. And every time we have to modify it, it's easy to modify. So that's what I like about it. That, you go back in, and even if you haven't touched in a long time, you go, okay, I get it. Okay, let's go back to this.
Yes. Yeah, in fact, you hit on something else, too. Exactly. The other thing is, not only can you build these things fast, but just what you said, if you have to update it, it's so easy to do in Lectora without it affecting 100 other things.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was first building courses in Lectora and ran into that problem, because content is always evolving and always changing. I mean, content is not a static entity, it's evolving and morphing, and
sure.
Content has to be updated. So, but Lectora allows for that. And I remember I was talking with another colleague at the time. I was at the hospital and he was at a university, and they had just built something in Flash. They may have used Captivate too for some of it, but they just built something, and he's like, "Oh, I hate this thing because every time we have to update it, the designers get mad at us, and the whole multimedia place gets mad at us because it throws this thing off and it throws that off." And I told this person, I said, if I couldn't update things, I would probably lose my job, because I have to be able to update things daily on a daily basis. And that's the way that e-learning really should be. It should allow for continuously updating and evolving. And that's exactly what Lectora allowed, was to do these updates fast, but it didn't affect everything down the line. Or if it did affect a few things, it was very easy to fix and change, and the logic, the underlying logic didn't change. So like in a simulation, like what you're talking about, where you have things in groups or chapters, and then if-then statements that, if they do this and this, send them here. If not, send them here. It's very easy to construct, and you can update those things quickly and daily if need be, because it's that simple. So
and navigation in Lectora, I don't know any tool that does it as well.
Yes.
Because it does it smartly. When you're in a chapter, your next and previous buttons only work in that chapter unless you want them to do something else.
Yep.
If you call another chapter, your same next and previous buttons work only in that chapter. You're not wondering, where's it going to jump to? Where is it going to go? It's always in the right scope. And that's one of the things that we find valuable, especially in long pieces.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
absolutely, yeah, and I do love that feature. Whereas, I mean, I have tried to build things in Captivate that were, I've tried, you know, different times to build things that were almost as complex as Lectora, and I couldn't do it in Captivate because, and partly for that reason too. I mean, Captivate just didn't quite allow the complexity that Lectora does, but also like what you said, the next and previous buttons, you know, the way that they work. By default is great, and if you need to attach an action to that next button and say, you know, this, if this and this happens, then send them here. If not, send them here. I mean, it's just so much easier in Lectora. Yeah, like you, I tried, you know, a few other tools, and I was never able to build either the complexity or what, you know, in such a short amount of time, but also with such powerful, and it works so well. And yeah, absolutely love.
And it's really funny. Throughout the years, we've had a lot of Flash conversions where people say, this vendor doesn't exist anymore. Can you take this code and convert it?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you just look at it and go, oh. So we use Flash decompilers, so that we know we can take the assets out, we can take the text out, usually the voiceover, if it's not external. And then, unfortunately, we've been lucky on all these. Nobody's had it external yet. And then we use Lectora to rebuild them. And people go, you rebuilt Flash and Lectora? I go, yeah, it worked really well.
Yeah,
and sometimes we even keep some of the Flash content if they have some nice animations or something. We'll keep some of that if it's like a little video. But other than that, it's totally redone in Lectora. It works better. The navigation's clean. Everything loads faster because you're not having to load a lot of Flash at once. You're loading pretty much pages as you go. And it works. And we've had some that were like 5-hour Flash pieces, and you just go, oh my gosh, this is not good. And we got it done, and it didn't take that long. Maybe a month to do a whole project like that. That was a lot of slides, and it worked out fine. So yeah, Lectora to us is one of those life-saving tools, and I'm just so glad. Now, have you met John Blackman from Lectora, the CTO?
I believe that we have emailed. I think just a couple days ago, that was who I emailed with. So I haven't actually met. A ton of people at Lectora, and it's funny, at the last meeting I was at with Lectora, I told them what one of my colleagues had said to me a few years ago at the hospital. I was training him to use Lectora, and he looked at me, he's like, dude, do you work for the hospital or do you work for Lectora? Because you would be a dang good salesman for them. But actually I haven't met too many of the people who work at Lectora, but yeah, no, but I talked with a bunch on the phone, and I think John was one of the people on an email, but yeah, I mean, you know, it's one of those things that I'm so happy to endorse, you know, and I have to tell people, no, I'm not getting any kickbacks or anything. It's not like a doctor with a pharmaceutical company who's getting kickbacks for recommend. I mean, I'm not getting any kickbacks, but I absolutely love this product. It is so amazing. And I've told people numerous times, I said, if you can dream it and think about what you want to create, we can build it with Lectora. It's that awesome. You know, if you can dream this beautiful, awesome house with all these different whatever, we can build it with Lectora.
Right.
So,
yeah, and John's brilliant. He's the guy, one of the main developers of OS2 from IBM.
Yeah.
And that was the original Windows, I mean, if you will. And then, you know, it was better than Windows. And Windows NT was trying to copy it, but it never quite got as good. And then OS2, unfortunately, was killed by IBM, which is what happens usually. The best products sometimes go away. But John was one of the original architects on it, and then became the original architect for... if he was telling us on one of the shows we interviewed that he basically developed it in his garage as he was just kind of getting it going, and then he got together with some other folks, and they made Trivantis happen. Though originally Lectora was going to be called Athena.
I didn't know that.
That's why it's the AWT files. I was going, why is it AWT? Where did they get that from? It was Athena work something or other. I'm not sure what they called it, but it was an Athena file.
So that's what they came. Yeah, I've never known that either.
We just found that out maybe a month ago when we were interviewing him on this show. I go, Athena, huh? And he said outside the offices in Boca Raton, they've got a statue of Athena. So, and he has the surfboard, the Lectora surfboard, which he's actually used.
Awesome.
So it's pretty cool.
I didn't realize that. No, that's
Athena. Great. So that's actually, what was she? Was she goddess of wisdom, I think?
Wow.
I think she was the goddess of wisdom.
Which is very appropriate for this. I mean, because what you're doing is you're imparting wisdom and you're making it very understandable for other people. I mean, that's the whole...
Well, that's the beauty of it. I mean, when you don't have to code and you can make it a lot easier, that's actually a really good thing. And And from a programming perspective, they did it right. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yep.
What do you think of the changes with the Lectora that have happened throughout the years? You've seen it when it was fairly stark in the old days. It had some features, but it didn't have what it has now. Now, mind you, I kind of missed the old interface because it was all on one page. I knew exactly where to click everywhere. Now I've got to kind of look for it in the ribbons. But what do you think of the new look and feel, and have you gotten used to it yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great. So what happened after I worked at the hospital? I worked in higher ed for quite a while and other environments. Actually was a academic dean shortly for a school while they were, or interim academic dean while they were reaccrediting. And so and then I came back to the development world just a short time ago, and was kind of reintroduced to Lectora and absolutely loved it. So I was gone for a time as a developer and then came back into this world, and of course the first thing I wanted to do was order Lectora, and I was just blown away. I was like, oh, this is awesome, because it was already awesome to begin with.
Yeah.
And now it was like, I guess kind of, it had gone from a beautiful, amazing Toyota to a Lexus, or even, but so it was still at its core just awesome and reliable like it always has been, but then it was beefed up as well. So yeah, the new features, and again, getting used to it again took almost no time. I mean, the interface is so easy, and even a number of my coworkers who aren't necessarily computer savvy, it's very easy to train them, to show them, here's what I'm doing in Lectora, here's how you do this, and if I'm ever out of the office, here's how you update these things. I mean, it's still that easy that I can show people. Sometimes I tell people it's as easy as PowerPoint, but as powerful as Lamborghini. I mean, so I mean, it can, it's that easy to use, but yet you can build. If you want to build a Lamborghini or a Porsche, you can, and you're no longer restricted to building, a cheap old car that sort of works. You can build awesome stuff now, and in fact, it's very easy to do. So yeah, the new interface I love. All the old, the core is still perfect, great like it always has been, right. But then the new interface is great, so it didn't take long to get readjusted again, and so now we're in the mode, now that we've got our LMS going and other things like that, we're in the rapid development mode like I was at back at the hospital, so we're just cranking out tons of courses, the subject matter expert, this is what we need, and then we use Lectora and build it and launch it, and it's great, and now we're using XAPI. Right.
Oh, that's right, you are using the XAPI. Now, what authoring tool are you using right now? Not authoring tool, but LMS.
So we're using it's the LearnDash LMS, which is there's a number of companies that are using it now. It's actually behind a WordPress site, so it's integrated within WordPress. It's actually a plugin with WordPress.
Okay.
And then we're using the GrassBlade LRS. Which is the plug, which integrates with the LearnDash LMS, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that GrassBlade LRS allows us to build XAPI content and capture everything in it. So that's what we're doing right now. And it's actually quite nice because the WordPress, it being a WordPress site, you can customize it and make it just look beautiful. Make the LMS itself look really, really nice and user-friendly. And LearnDash allows for all of that. It's a very inexpensive solution, LearnDash is, and then having the LRS, on the back end, and so we can launch XAPI content anywhere in the LMS, and it's really, really, it looks nice. So I guess what I'm saying is it's a lot different now than it was even 10 years ago when LMSs were, you almost had no customization. They were super expensive. I mean, I remember the hospital paying just an enormous amount of money back in 2003 for this huge LMS that really was clunky and did not do much, and you couldn't customize it. To whereas now you can, like with LearnDash, the LMS is actually part of the WordPress site, so you make it super user-friendly and beautiful the way that WordPress sites are, and then you have all the functionality that you have with previous LMSs, but it's super user-friendly.
That's great.
And you can direct them to different course sequences or groups of courses and things like that. So
and it supports XAPI.
It does. Yeah, because of LearnDash is tightly integrated with GrassBlade, and GrassBlade is the LRS vendor, and so I build everything in Lectora in XAPI format and then publish it put onto our LMS. And we have also worked with an amazing programmer who was actually on the XAPI committee originally. So we've contacted with him back and forth to do just some custom interfaces, things like that. With XAPI, I like it much better than much better than SCORM. I mean, I feel like SCORM was a good beginning, but it was clunky. It was kind of like having one muffler that fit every car. It would sort of work on every car, but not great. And it was like it would sort of work on every LMS. But now XAPI, again, like I mentioned, that Terminator type metal. I mean, it's like a muffler that I can shape to any kind of car and capture everything, and I can even have a sensor in the muffler to sense what kind of carbon dioxide or how much whatever kind of bad emissions is coming out of the car, so I can quickly diagnose problems. I mean, so it's great. And with with XAPI, I mean. With things I've built and that I'm going to continue to build, we can capture so much data on the learner. So I mean, our LRS is going to be huge and full of a monster amount of data, but it's going to be there so we can data mine, and we can display just the minimum that the executives and that the learner themselves needs to see. But then going back, we can go and do data mining, and it's almost like a dream come true being able to do that. I'm working on a doctorate degree in public health, and and in this area, I mean, we'd love to have tons of data so that we can mine and find different health problems that may have occurred that just were missed, and XAPI and the LRS does a similar thing where we capture just a mountain of data, and later on we can go and mine it. And like I can with Lectora, it's beautiful the way its XAPI works. I mean, I can put XAPI statements all over the place, attach them to actual question responses, attach them to all sorts of different things, send tons of statements, and I can see, for item analysis, for example, it's beautiful because we can go back and say, these types of learners, this demographic of learners, they all seem to make this choice and this choice and this choice really frequently when the correct answer is actually this. And it's great because we can go back and say, okay, either this is a really bad question or maybe this group of learners in this large organization really needs extra training. And XAPI allows us to identify that now. It's fantastic. Does that kind of make sense? I mean,
it does. And you know what's sort of interesting is how few people ever use the LMS for anything other than launching.
Right.
And you just go, So, I mean, what's the use? I mean, really, at that point, just launch it, go away, go home. I mean, without really doing an analysis of what anybody's learning, it's pretty useless.
Absolutely. Amen. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just shake my head because we've been doing LMSs for about 15 years, or actually longer. I'd say going on close to 20 years. And I've known very few companies that actually analyze the data. Some, but not many.
Absolutely, and I've had almost identical experience where I've been with companies or universities or other places where they're using an LMS and it's just for such a minimal thing. And I remember thinking, oh, you guys realize, I mean, you could be doing so much more. But you're right, it's almost like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but it's like knowing you have a beautiful Toyota and just using it to go to the grocery store and back, and that's it. I mean, when you could be, going 80 miles an hour, or you could go, I don't know. I mean, that's not the perfect analogy, but you know what I mean? I mean, you see something great.
Well, it's probably like having a Corvette and never going more than 10 miles an hour.
Yes. In fact, that's probably a better example.
Yeah,
yes,
this
exactly.
big old engine, but you never use it.
Yeah. And also you've got a beautiful canyon right here where you could go cruising and you could go, why not? Yeah. Your analogy is a lot better there. Yes, exactly. That, and it's just sitting there, and all you're using it for is going back and forth to the grocery store, and it's like, that's all you need it for. Let's just get a bike. I mean, if you got this Corvette, we need to be, right, pushing it to the max. And and you're right, LMSs can be used for so much more, and XAPI really allows for that, and it's so great. I mean, for organizations too. I mean, there's so many areas where they could be analyzing even more, and saving huge amounts of money when they realize where these patterns are and things like that. So, sorry, I just have to. There you go. My office phone there is ringing. So yes, but you're right, and I think hopefully that will change. In the future as more. People realize that the potential of LMSs to, an LRS, capturing XAPI data, to really capture huge amounts of information that are so useful to see patterns of learning and to really patterns of behavior and how you can specifically address those exact problems. And this is really a way, in the big sense, to make training have a return on investment, to make training really count and result in meaningful changes in behavior, don't you think?
And I think that's the problem. And I've heard so much BS about people saying, well, you can't put a return on investment on training. No, sorry, that's BS. Sure you can. A lot of people just go, no, you can't. They're just justifying not getting anything done.
Right.
Because you can, and you can by analyzing data. Once you know what people have learned, then you can go back and take a look at, has performance improved? In other words, if you can attach the LMS information, the training information, to the HR kind of scorecard, if you will, of what people have done, has their performance increased individually as a group? Are we getting less phone calls, support calls? Are they producing more quickly with better training? Now, if you can get all that in place, then you have an idea how performance has gone. You can justify an ROI very quickly. Absolutely. And say, look, we gave all these people training on how to do this product or how to treat this illness. And as a result, we've had 50% less patients coming back in a week later or this. Now, that's trackable.
Yep.
But that's rarely done. Some companies do it, but boy, I tell you, it's probably a small minority of companies.
It's super rare. Yeah, you're right. And as I speak with different leaders of companies and other places, you're right. It is so rare. And even when you mention, so what are you guys doing for ROI? People are like, well, what do you mean? I mean, we just launched the training and it's out there. And I absolutely agree with you that it can be measured and it should be measured. And it makes training accountable. But yeah, and with that kind of data, you can measure it and you can show before and after that these are different people from when they first came in the training to when they left. They're a different person. Their attitudes are better, and we can show that here by data. Their actions are better because they're not making this mistakes on insurance claims, or they're not making this mistakes with patients. And yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's interesting. So yeah, XAPI is getting out there slowly but surely. I still laugh because people are still implementing brand new SCORM 2004. What year are we in now? 2015 was it?
I know, and I think SCORM maybe it had its place back then as kind of a first evolution, but things have to continue to evolve, and it can't just stay. I totally agree with you. When I see, when you hear people or companies ask for, can you still do SCORM 2004? It's like, I suppose if you, but why would you want it? It's one of those, XAPI is this natural evolution where things are better. Why would you want something from, Yeah,
I would venture a guess that probably maybe 75-80% of the companies are still running SCORM 1.2 because it worked better.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. Of course, then you have the LMS issue, which a lot of them aren't really quite compatible either. And that was a little bit a problem with the SCORM standard because it allowed flexibility where it probably shouldn't have. So as a result, you've got to check, well, completion code could be one of 5 different choices or 6. Which one do you choose? Is it C? Is it uppercase C? Is it lowercase c? Is it comp? Is it completed? They all have a different way of tracking it. And not all content works on it. So you've got to then modify your content, especially content libraries, to make things work on an LMS because nobody's exactly the same.
Yeah.
That's a pain.
And you're exactly right. Yeah, you're right. Some companies may call it COMP, period, means completed. Other companies completed the whole word, and exactly right, standards. But XAPI is just so much more flexible. And even, passing statements, you can change it on the fly, in Lectora with the drop down of statements, they've got set statements, and then you can quickly change them even to suit whatever you want. So if you wanted to have it send the word bombed, meaning if they chose this choice, they really bombed it, they really did a bad job. You could have it send that data, and or if you wanted to have it, whatever. If you want to have it say something like skilled employee, had to have it send that statement. If they make this choice, you could have it send that kind of statement. It's just really
so
cool.
It's more relevant. It's more relevant to what you're doing.
Totally relevant. Yeah, where SCORM just doesn't, allow that. Yeah, and this is, it's really natural evolution. It sounds like we're on the same boat where we see the possibilities, and it's frustrating when other companies don't, or they don't want to. Yeah,
they just don't want to go there. Well, we're also in an environment right now, which is what I call a checkoff. We check off, did you do this? Did you do that? It doesn't matter whether you learned anything. We just check it off for compliance or whatever other sake. Yeah. And that's not training, nor is it learning. So everything's just checked off, check. And then at the end you go, what have you done? I've gotten 6 checks. And, what have you learned? I don't know, but I got 6 checks.
Yeah.
So and your check is not in the mail.
Yeah, and they're doing it for compliance and auditing. They just want, they're like, we don't care if people learn. We just want to make sure that it's checked off so that when the auditor comes in from OSHA or HIPAA or whatever, we can say, nope, we trained them, check.
That's right.
But absolutely, training goes so much beyond that. It shouldn't ever be that kind of but it does. And you've probably seen lots of vendor-produced training where
Yeah.
It was so poorly produced that all it was a check. It was just a glorified PDF, sort of, and with a whole bunch of horribly written multiple choice questions at the end. I mean, yeah.
No, that's true. We know, Jared, we are almost at the end of our time. We'd love to have you back on, because I think we're only touching the surface of things, and we can get a little deeper into Lectora. And I'd invite you to do this if you're interested.
Yeah.
We are starting Lectora Live tutorials, which is all part of Lectora Live. I put one out the other day. That was the first one, and I haven't had time to do much else, but more are coming. We have a list of about 50 already planned. And if you want to do any kind of tutorials, submit them to us, and we will put them with your name on it, and you'll get out there, and we'll put it all as part of this. Is all going into the resource libraries in the community. So it'll be on YouTube and in the Lectora community. So that could benefit a lot of other people, especially in the area of templates. A lot of people don't build templates, which you can save a lot of time doing. People go, okay, blank, design, I don't have any templates, so I'll skip those. And, well, no, you're supposed to build your own. Why would I do that? Well, it's called reusability. What do I need to reuse? It's a one-off course. No. But what if you have a second course? So it's sort of funny, but it's just something that a lot doesn't really take off that well. And yet, templates are where you save a ton of time and money.
Huge amount. And you can build all of the powerful elements into your template, all the theories, the design, the engineering elements, everything, So it's consistent. Absolutely, consistent and powerful,
Yeah. Well, we definitely have to have you come back on. And now, you said you were from Canada originally.
I am. I grew up in Alberta.
Alberta, okay.
Yeah,
That's
so,
now,
I've been trying for about 20 years or so, 15 years, to convince my wife to move back there. I don't know. Someday, hopefully we can.
I'd like to move back there. I'm not even from there. So
I loved it there. Yeah,
it's really pretty. We had a condo in Vancouver for about 28 years, I think. We first got married here, and then we bought a condo. We couldn't afford anything in the U.S. We bought something in Vancouver.
Awesome.
And then when the economy got really bad, we actually sold it, and it helped us in the year that it was really bad. So it did really well. We knew it had a purpose. We just didn't know what that purpose was. So that was in Vancouver, Canada. Oh, God, I love Vancouver, Canada. Now, in Alberta, what city were you in?
I was in Lethbridge. It's about almost an hour from the Montana border, and it's about 3 hours south of Calgary.
Oh, Calgary, okay. I've been to Edmonton, which is really lovely.
Yeah, we're about 6 hours south of Edmonton.
I have not yet been to Calgary. I'd like to go one day. It looks really nice, too. It's right at the base of the mountains, too, which is pretty.
Yep, yeah, very beautiful,
So, I like Canada. The people are nice there, too. So
extremely friendly drivers.
That's true. Yeah, one of my favorite stories is when I was up in Vancouver. The very first time we went up there, we went to Victoria first. We had friends who lived there. Then we went to Vancouver, and we took the C bus, which takes you from downtown Vancouver to the North Vancouver side. And it's just this, like a subway on the water. It's just a very wide, flat bus, if you will.
Yeah.
And we were talking to the girl at the ticket booth, and we were in the last C bus going back towards downtown. It was about maybe 8:30 at night.
Yeah.
And we were talking to her about where we were from, and we were from the LA area, and she was very friendly. So we went on the boat, sat down, and she came chasing after us and said the captain would like you to ride up in the cabin with him. And we went, really? So we got up into the turret area where they have the con tower, basically.
Yeah.
And we because he had lived in LA for a while, and he just wanted to chat and just talk, and it was a nice. Where else would that happen? Right. It would never happen here. But awesome. In Vancouver, they were so friendly. And that's when we decided to buy something there. We said, we love it here. Maybe one day we'll move. But that never materialized yet. I mean, you never know. But God, I just love it up there. It's just a very pretty place.
It is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely. Oh, that's neat. Oh,
I mean,
friendly.
Very friendly.
The sea bus, too, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember at the hotel, our very first trip, they said, I asked, is there any place that's kind of not safe to walk or anything? The guy looked at me and goes, you from LA? Well, yeah. And he goes, no, it's not like that here. So,
yeah, I remember my grandma came to visit us from Georgia, and she asked my mom, she said, so where are the slums here in the city? And my mom said, there's not really any slums here. This isn't, I mean, it's not, in dangerous areas, there wasn't really any. Yeah. It's like,
no, I mean, they have some problems too, but not like here.
Yeah.
This is a whole new world.
Very different, yeah. So anyways, it sounds like I would love to visit more. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I love talking about with Lectora and learning and this, and I'd love to visit more with you at a later time if you want to do another interview. And
sounds great.
Talk about this, and we're both on the very similar viewpoints, about the potentials of learning to, and data capturing and effective learning.
Kind of lone voices in the wilderness, but
yep.
there are some of us out there who, there is so much potential, and unfortunately, I don't think we're tapping it. And as a result, that's why so many people hate e-learning.
Yep.
It's just boring in most cases, and it's not trying to teach you.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
been there, done that. With some of our best clients, I go, we've done some of the worst work for some of our best clients, and that's what they want. And we just sit there going, really, we get paid for this? Oh, so.
Yeah, years ago, I was on a contract for a large company, and I remember the project manager said, I apologize to you instructional designers, you're probably not going to want to use this as a showcase for your best work, but she said it's what the client wants.
Yep.
And some things are going, oh, why do they want, why do they want that when they can have this, Yeah.
It's interesting. And it's not that hard to make it nice.
No.
Or to even make it useful.
And to make it powerful and make it easy to learn. Yeah. So.
Good stuff. Well, Jared, a pleasure meeting you.
You too.
At least virtually. I'm sure we'll meet one of these days in person.
Yes,
and we will see you next time. And if you're watching the show out there, thank you for watching. And please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Not sure what that means, but everybody wants a thumbs up, so it's probably a good thing. So, again, Jared, we'll see you next time on Lectora Live. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And we are back.